Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another podcast episode. My name is Alicia Gogan, the host of the Glow Up Secrets podcast, where I help you expand your mind and become more self-aware so that you can glow up into the best version of yourself. Hello and happy Sunday once again. We are in the fall cozy sweater vibes. I got this sweater from Oak and Fort. They have really nice stuff. This is like the first time I ever actually walked in there and looked around, but I am loving this, and it's just really giving fall. But we are not here to talk about my sweater, okay? We are here to talk about healing from heartbreak, okay? So if you needed an episode from me in regards to heartbreak and detaching and finally moving on, hopefully this video will be your rock. Hopefully it will really help you get through it because, girl, I've been there. I have been through heartbreak. I have been through the attachment and holding on and thinking about that person and being in no contact and feeling really bad about myself, feeling rejected, all of those things. And it's just not a good feeling. But maybe the first piece of advice I could actually give you is understand that everyone at some point goes through heartbreak in their life. So if you're going through it right now, just understand that you are not alone. It might feel like your world is absolutely falling apart or you just feel really down. Understand that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I always say this, but on the gloomiest days, the sun is still there. It's just behind the clouds. If you were to go in a plane right now, and I'm looking outside because it's actually a cloudy day today in Toronto, you go into the plane. I'm going to Miami. I'm actually going to Miami for my birthday this November. So I'm really excited for that. But if I was in that plane going to Miami and it was a cloudy day today, as soon as I get through those clouds, the sun would be there unless I'm flying at night. But the sun is there. So just understand that you can get through this. You are going to need to have that mindset if you want to get through anything. And I have also been that friend for others who are going through the heartbreak, the situationships, the attachment, things like that. And the difference between the ones that really got through it and the ones that were stuck for a very long time, which, by the way, don't shame yourself if you're going through it. It is what it is, but they and even myself always had to anchor their mindsets in the fact that one day I will feel good, even though I don't believe it. I feel like I'm going to feel like this forever. I feel like this is not going to change, whatever it is. But on that same coin, just telling themselves anyway, one day at a time, and I'm going to get through it. You need to step into the identity of somebody who can go through hard times and is resilient. And coming from somebody who has gone through other hard times and challenging times, whether it's health issues, financial issues, heartbreak, or even grief. I've been going through grief this entire year of losing my mom. There have been so many times where I didn't know when I was going to feel better, and the fact that it was just happening and I felt like shit. But I just did my best to tell myself through the hardest times that one day it's going to be better. I don't know when. And honestly, my mom taught me that. So thank you, Mom. The things that she instilled in my head when it comes to things like that, there will be lights, will always stay with me. And it's interesting because I remember when I was going through my quote unquote first heartbreak, I kind of look at heartbreak a little bit different now because I think that a lot of the heartbreak that we experience is kind of the attachment style that might be playing out. We're going to get into it. But I remember when I was going through that first breakup and my mom would tell me those same things. It happens. It's a part of life. The first one feels really hard and it can be challenging at times. Even if it's the second, the third, sometimes it can just really hit you. And she reminded me of the time where she had her first heartbreak and she literally felt like her world was absolutely over. Like there was no reason to continue on. But lo and behold, she did get through it. Like we all can. You can get through it. But on that other hand, you could also just not, and you could live in this stuckness forever. Some people just are really in that limerence, are really in that not moving forward and not allowing themselves to be released of this. And I don't think that that's the way to live. I genuinely don't. So anyways, I have some key things that I want to talk to you about when it comes to moving on, heartbreak, and detaching. But before we get into the episode, I do want to quickly thank today's sponsor, which is Bumble. And my hope with today's sponsor is when you get through the end of this episode and you're going on your healing journey and you're really feeling better about life, that you can enter the dating pool with a fresh lens and feel really empowered and feel really good. So let's quickly get into today's sponsor. Dating apps have been such a big part of my journey from when I was navigating single life to even now being being in a healthy relationship. And that is why I'm so excited to talk to you guys about Bumble. When I was actively dating, this was the app that I would use. And guys, I've always had really good experiences on it. Now, many of you also know that I'm a full-time content creator and I work for myself, which means it can be pretty hard for me to meet people in real life. So apps like Bumble have always helped me keep my options open and have given me opportunities to connect with new people in a way that felt accessible and very lighthearted. And honestly, guys, Bumble just keeps getting better. They've added a dating advice hub right in the app, filled with expert tips to guide you through every stage of your dating journey. Whether you're brand new or giving love another try, it's like having a dating coach in your pocket. And for peace of mind, everyone verifies their photo and phone number with optional ID verification too. That way, you know the person that you're meeting is real, their photos are real, and their age is real. Another one of my favorite features that Bumble offers is called shared interest to help members showcase their lifestyle and their personality, in which Bumble will then highlight interests that you have in common right up front, helping you quickly determine whether the person that you're interested in is actually your vibe and if you want to start a conversation. Now, they've also upgraded their profile prompts by allowing members to add a photo alongside their answer, which is just another way that you can express your interests and your personality and even your lifestyle in a more visual way. For me, dating has always just been about staying open, keeping your heart open and your options open, and Bumble just makes it so much easier to do that. It really doesn't need to feel so daunting or serious. So if you've been thinking about giving love another shot, I would definitely recommend downloading Bumble. It might just be the place where your next chapter begins. So let's get into it. When it comes to moving through heartbreak and moving on and just feeling better about yourself, I genuinely think what makes the process difficult for you to even move on is the fact that you are not looking at this breakup as grief and you're not actually allowing yourself to feel your feelings and really go through that grieving process. And it's not to mean that you spiral, but I feel like there is the obsession and the wanting to hold on to things type of heartbreak that most people go through. But then there's the, in my personal opinion, a healthier form of actually processing a breakup, which is kind of looking at it as a death. And that means you're gonna need to allow yourself to feel your feelings. It is sad. It might be triggering some abandonment wound. It might be making you feel like you are less than. It's okay that you miss them. It's okay that you wanted it to turn out differently. It's okay that you maybe even still want to be with them. True healing can come when you stop judging yourself for how you feel. We are so quick to be like, okay, how do I stop feeling the thing that I'm feeling? Because one, it really does hurt, which is understandable. We don't want to be in pain. But two, there's this overarching theme in society that we shouldn't be feeling the things that we're feeling or have a bad day or be heartbroken, things like that. So we really rush the process. But I feel like sometimes if we do not process our emotions and allow ourselves those days to feel and to feel, honestly, feel bad for ourselves, sometimes those emotions are just going to sit with us and want to come out. And I just find the best way that I've ever been able to move on and move forward with any hardship in my life is first addressing it and looking at it and leaning into it and allowing that anger, that frustration, that sadness to really have space, because those emotions need space as well. We're not going to be able to shame ourselves and hate ourselves into change. Now, I can't tell you how long it's going to take for you to go through the grieving process, but one thing I have learned about grieving anything is it's not linear. So you will probably be able to carve out more time right at the beginning of impact to feel your feelings and let yourself have those days. And then you will kind of start feeling better, but it doesn't mean that those thoughts won't come in. And what I've learned is just to continue to not judge the feelings, not tell yourself they shouldn't be happening, understand it's a part of the process to have those feelings come up sometimes, and give yourself space, whether it's journaling or just giving yourself a moment in time during the day, but not going into the spiral and making it your identity, which I think is the reason why people struggle with even allowing themselves to feel their feelings, because they're afraid if they feel their feelings and they're going to stay there forever, which doesn't typically happen when you actually cultivate a practice of releasing your emotions and even crying out, doing breath work, things that could really help you just release. That's not typically what happens. But even on the process of you going through the grieving journey, you are having those feelings come up again. What a lot of people will do is they will go into it, especially when it comes to heartbreak, things like that. You feel like you're abandoned, you feel sad, and then you go and take an action like going to check their Instagram, or you're going into the story that tells you that you're not enough, or that you're rejected, or that you aren't ever going to find love again, or you stay in bed all day, you don't take care of yourself. Like, taking the action on those feelings, in my personal opinion, is not going to help us, and it does not serve us. But it doesn't mean that we don't feel those feelings when they come up, by saying, it's understandable. I'm going through a breakup. I'm going through the grieving process. I am struggling right now, and that's okay. We want to learn how to hold those emotions as we move through life, because that is life. Life is not black and white. I have to get up and move through this world with the feelings of sadness from losing my mom still. But that doesn't mean that's my entire identity. It doesn't mean that I am now, because I feel and I carry the weight of sadness with me, that I don't show up and allow myself to have a better life, and also to dim the other parts of myself that I still have, which is happiness and excitement for life and possibility and all of these things. I think that that is a thing that will take you a far way in life, is understanding that you are very complex, you have a lot of emotions, and you're going to need to learn how to work with these parts instead of just operating out of one part the entire time, or shaming yourself for even having that part of you. Like I said, you can have a journal practice where you, every single morning, let's say for the next week, if you're just really going through it, every morning your journal practice is going to be you writing out all of your feelings, what you think about yourself, what you think about the other person, what you're mourning, what you're sad about, what you wish was different, all of these things, whatever it is, just letting these emotions out. Let these emotions and feelings run their course. It's okay. You're allowed to feel them. You're allowed to process them. I also do think doing breath work could be very beneficial, and even a guided meditation. There's a lot of different breath work journeys that you can take on YouTube. I'm sure if you type in breath work for heartbreak, there's probably a lot that could come up that could be very transformative for you. But the main takeaway is, do not shame yourself and don't get down on yourself for feeling the way that you feel, because that is not going to allow you to break free from anything. It's not like you could for a second force yourself into being more positive and feeling better, but then you're probably going to go back to that breakdown. And that's typically because you're not allowing yourself to fall into more of that like feminine energy, that lovingness, the unconditional loving and understanding towards yourself. We need to do that as humans. We need to do that for ourselves. Now, as I was saying, with the feeling our feelings, but also being aware and not going into the spiral and taking those actions that are further going to hurt us, essentially, we really need to direct our actions on something that is going to be positive and uplifting for us. And the way I like to look at the actual action, what do we do after we feel our feelings, or what do we do during the time of going through heartbreak and things like that, is no longer waiting for closure and giving yourself closure. And that's going to look different for everyone, but overall moving closer to detachment, detaching yourself from the situation, aka the person in this example. This is where I see people stay stuck in heartbreak. There's no form of detachment. There's no form of self-created closure. They're waiting for someone else to give them the closure that they need. And they're constantly staying in the same identity, the same actions as somebody who is going through heartbreak and or no contact and just feeling really sad, which is, again, fine that we feel sad, but we don't need to take further action on that. A simple way that I have always created closure for myself in regards to heartbreak is reminding myself that my person wouldn't walk away from me. My person will be the one that stays. My person is going to be the person that works for me, and I work for them. It's in my opinion that the person that is meant for you is not going to be a person that walks away. God is not going to take away somebody who is meant for you. God is not going to take anything away from you that is not for you. But this is why it's hard for you to even have that mindset. You still are stuck in this idea that this person is for you and you should be with this person. And listen, I understand that sometimes breakups, heartbreak, all that kind of stuff, it's complex and it's very nuanced because there probably is a lot of things that did work and that you did like about that person. But sometimes we're just holding on to those things and ignoring all the other reasons as to why it didn't work out, which is why you're in this situation in the first place. If things were healthy happy. And if you guys were happy and things were just good, you guys would be together. Now, I also think when it comes to heartbreak and closure, it's important for you to see how you might be playing out patterns from your childhood attachments, whether that was through mom or dad or siblings, even caretakers, even past relationships, things like that. Because I do think the reason why we're fighting for things that clearly aren't meant for us is because we are really used to having that half-assed love or fighting consistently for love that we never got. And so we are playing out these patterns that really we are subconsciously playing out when we were young without even knowing it. And that is never going to get us anywhere, but that is why you stay stuck a lot of the times with people who clearly don't serve you, or you're chasing somebody, or you're waiting for that closure that you're never going to get. It's that reoccurring feeling of, I'm not enough. How do I win somebody's love? What do I need to do? I don't deserve healthy love. I don't deserve consistently. I have to work for it. I have to beg for it. That's typically what's happening. Because this is the thing, when it comes to breakups, there has to be a piece of acceptance. You have to accept it. You have to close that chapter and you have to move on so that you can feel better. But when you're stuck in it and you're ruminating and you're holding on to this person that's not even good for you, that you can clearly see is just, it didn't work out for whatever reason, there's definitely something that you need to accept that is deeply rooted in your relational patterning that's typically from childhood. You have to accept that there's going to be some people who don't know how to love you. You have to accept that there are going to be people that you cannot please. You have to accept that you don't have to work so hard for love. Now, if you see yourself in the patterning that I'm talking about, I'll link a few relationship episodes down below because I've been talking about relationships for quite a bit on the podcast, and I have more episodes that dive into that. But at the end of the day, you need to stop waiting for somebody else to give you closure. Would it be nice if somebody said, hey, like, I really think that you're great, but it's not going to work out, or we had great times and I still love you, but like, we're not going to work out, whatever it is, like, sure, maybe that would help, kind of. I don't know. I feel like I've gotten those like closure things as well. And sometimes it still wasn't enough because I was playing out those patterns. But regardless of what it is, you don't need to wait for that person. Stop waiting. Decide that you are going to give yourself a better life. Decide that you deserve to feel better every single day and not pining and hoping and wishing and praying and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for somebody to choose you. You have to see that that is exactly what you're doing every single day. When you're checking, when you're waiting, when you're hoping and praying that that person's going to come back, that's all you're doing is being like, hopefully they're going to love me today. That's not what we should be doing. And if you really struggle with this, think about your inner child. You are making your inner child wait for love every single time you sit around and you wait for somebody to text you back that clearly doesn't want to be with you. Does your inner child really deserve that? Does your inner child deserve to have constant messaging every single day from you by being like, you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough, you have to fight for love, you have to wait for love every single day? No, she does not. Energetically take your inner child's hand and say, we are going over here where the healthy love is, where we don't have to work so hard, where we're appreciated, where we find people who are good matches for us, and where we do not sit around and wait for people. We don't have time for that. Now, I did do a Q&A on my Instagram, and there was a few people who submitted stuff in regards to basically checking behavior. So I just want to read a few of these things. Someone said, my ex cheated on me with a new girlfriend. I walked away, which, clapping, thank you, amazing. Walk away from that, please. Even if it's going to be hard, and listen, it's going to be hard. Of course it's going to be hard, because first, it's devastating. Second, it's very disappointing, but also, it's just obviously not what you wanted. But I promise you, there's so many better options on that other side. So good for you for walking away. But she said, I still check his page, and she basically said that he is with the person that he cheated on her with, and they look so happy. Listen, you need to stop checking anything to do with this person. And this is where you need to get real with yourself when it comes to moving on from somebody. You are now creating suffering for yourself. There's pain, not your fault. This is shitty. You got to feel your feelings. We've got to work through that, and we have to accept that this is the reality. But then there's suffering, which is you checking, okay, what are they doing with that ex now? Oh my gosh, they look happy. You're now coming up with this elaborate story about how much they're just enjoying life without you, or he's treating her better and whatever it is, right? Or you even posting to try and see if that person's going to check your story and this, that. Enough. You have to see how you are dragging your inner child to sit down and watch a movie of your ex having a better life without you. That is insane and that is torture, and we need to stop doing that, please. Now, one last thing, you have no idea what this person is feeling. They could look like the happiest couple in the world, but I'm telling you, if somebody cheated on you, they're probably not healthy. And I'm not going to put this out there like I hope that relationship fails. Like obviously, like I don't really, but at the end of the day, there's probably unhealthy things going on in there, and just be happy that it's not you anymore. Okay? Trust me, the person for you is going to be a person who is healed and happy and committed to you, but you need to do that first. You need to commit to yourself first. By walking away, closing that door. You need to go on that healing journey, feel your feelings, do what you need to do, and you need to commit to yourself. When you start committing to yourself and your life and your habits and your emotions and your inner child, everything, the world will start committing to you. Someone also said how to let go of the idea that he will text me and that they will come back even though he's not good for me. Well, some of my advice probably already helped. And honestly, if you have these thoughts, this is what you could tell yourself. If it's meant to be, it will be. Okay? So get up and go do whatever it is you need to do. You don't need to be waiting. You should not be waiting for a text message. You should not be waiting for a text at all. You should not. If that person is meant for you, if that person is supposed to be for you, it will all be in God's plan. It will all be in the universe's plan. The universe will conspire to bring you guys together when it is meant to be. Trust me, if it's meant to be, it will be. And until then, you let it go. Someone else said, to be honest, I still miss and think about my ex of 3 years, no contact. And I don't know if it's soulmates or just attachment. It's probably attachment. I'm just going to say that because I think that when it comes to soulmates, you're going to meet each other when you guys are in the right headspace, the right phase of your life. For whatever reason, you guys didn't work, right? So if it's meant to be, wouldn't we want to both be healthy and happy? And it's in my opinion, if you're sitting here thinking about somebody and it's been 3 years and you're not able to really like let go and move on, I don't think that's the healthiest version of you. I think that the healthiest version of you would be somebody who, of course, goes through the process, but then you go and live your life and you're happy and you're joyful, and maybe you are experiencing new relationships and maybe you try dating and things like that. And if that person is your soulmate, you guys are going to meet and you guys are going to be healthy. So that's how I think about it. I think it's probably attachment if you are thinking and holding on to this person. So I would kind of go into that and, what are the stories that you're telling yourself? What are your beliefs about love? And, what are you doing in terms of your current life, right? It's been 3 years. Have you tried dating? Have you been focused on yourself for a certain amount of time? Have you gone through the feelings, right? Like I talked about, maybe you need to go through that whole process again, but I would assume that's probably an attachment. All right, you guys know I've been loving Jillian's posts on Instagram in regards to relationships. I will have her podcast and her Instagram in the description as all of the other resources as I'm talking about relationships. But of course, we have to read another thread because it is really good. Okay, I think this is really gonna like hit you where it is needed. I was going to say hit you where it hurts, but no, hit you where it's needed. And it goes, stop analyzing the emotionally unavailable person. Now, actually, I'm going to stop there and quickly say this. Maybe the person that you're like going through this breakup with is not necessarily emotionally unavailable. Maybe you think that they actually were and you weren't. Maybe you feel a little shame, which we can talk about as well when it comes to like forgiving yourself and things like that. But it just comes down to the fact that we do need to stop spending so much time analyzing people and the why behind everything, because that will keep you in a loop, because you will go down a rabbit hole forever and ever and ever and ever as to why this, why that, why this, why that. That's what your intellectual mind likes to do. You got to get out of your head. The next slide says, stop wasting energy analyzing someone who can't give you what you need. Step out of your head and back into your life. I promise you, their emotional unavailability is not your puzzle to solve. Again, it could just simply be you guys like didn't work out for whatever reasons you guys didn't work out. Like just sometimes you just have to accept that, right? Next, it says, someone needs to hear this. Be brave and ask for what you need, whether it's big or small. Speak directly. Let yourself be vulnerable. Stop pretending you don't need more. Stop acting like everything is fine when it isn't. For a relationship to work, feelings have to flow both ways. The timing has to align and both people need to be ready. You can't make a relationship work when one person wants to leave or doesn't have the same feelings or isn't in a place in their life to commit. If we can't accept this reality, we give someone else enormous power over our lives. That one. Okay? That part. Sometimes, guys, that person's just not willing and ready to commit. Sometimes that person really is just not for you. But take it from me, I found the person that I hope that I will spend the rest of my life with. And that is from understanding that all the people who I dated, for one, led me to him. But also, yeah, the timing, the alignment, the attachments, there's so many things playing out that it wasn't for me. But I did find somebody that was for me. So if you're feeling a little bit jaded, don't worry, you will find somebody. And the last one says, people spend too much time analyzing the emotionally unavailable person and not enough time walking away from them. Listen, we have got to start doing the walking away, okay? Like, we got to get it together, which is really the next era of your life, which is working on your beliefs, building up your self-worth, and getting into your daily habits and routines. I think that people really underestimate when you're going through the process of a breakup of what you do daily. Not only what you think, but your habits and your routine. It's so important because you, for the most part, are very dysregulated, your nervous system typically, whether you're very, very anxious or you just like are all over the place because you have emotions, things like that. So structure and of course, like redirecting your mind and having those reminders that you give yourself on a daily basis is going to be huge. Because the truth is this, when you're going through something like this, you typically do not have the best beliefs about yourself, whether you're internalizing your own actions or your self-concept and you think that you're not good enough, that you're not worthy, whatever it is, you don't have the best beliefs, which then make you feel worse and then can also trigger you into doing actions that are not helpful for you. Now, I think it's important to do an act of forgiveness for yourself for the ways that maybe you even showed up. You know, I feel like with breakups, there's typically like two parts, whether you allowed things for too long or you didn't speak up, or maybe you think that you're the one who messed it up, whatever it is. You really do have to forgive yourself by also understanding that you're human. You're going to go through things. You're going to learn a lot through relationships, and how are you going to better show up in the next relationship, but also sending forgiveness to that person as well, because I think that can keep us stuck by holding resentment and hating on that person. And if only they were just a better person, but they're not, and so they ruined my life or they ruined this and that. I think there needs to be that release. And I think that acceptance of yourself and even the other person and the situation for what it is can really help you no longer take things personal, because you really have to stop taking things personal when it comes to heartbreak. Sometimes it's not rejection, it's just the fact that somebody cannot receive your love. Sometimes rejection is simply redirection. Somebody's poor actions and bare minimum in a relationship is not proof that you are not good enough. Stop internalizing their actions, their poor behavior. Understand that hurt people hurt people. Understand that people have their own things going on and people struggle to love themselves, let alone love other people. And so if you've had that treatment, the only thing that you should be doing is first learning how to give yourself that love, but then going to find people who already know how to give you that love. You should not be concerned with people who do not know how to love you. And now the way that you're going to be able to feel love for yourself and feel good about yourself and also find people who will give you that same love back is by really taking a look at what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Of course, like I said, what you're thinking, the thoughts that you're thinking are very huge, but are you on routine? Are you getting sleep? Are you moving your body? Are you taking care of yourself through self-care? Are you eating well? Who are your friends? Do you have friends? Are they supportive? What are you doing for work? What is your purpose? What are your finances looking like? What are the things that you need to dial in on and focus on? Put that energy into that. Lock into yourself, because I can guarantee you there are a lot of things that are calling your name and you're just not listening. And instead you have that attention on that person or that situation and you're ruminating and it's really not helping you. Now, there is one person who is the absolute king when it comes to bringing you through the mental gymnastics and the emotional roller coaster that you will go on when it comes to low self-worth in relation to people who are like not choosing you, walking away from you, giving you the bare minimum, and that is Dylan James. So please go check out his YouTube channel. I will like at him in the description, and you can even follow him on Instagram. He will get you right. Okay, he will get you right. And listen, the ones who can kind of get through that breakup more than others, again, no judgment for anyone's timeline because everyone's timelines are different, even if you're doing the exact same thing. But the ones who typically can get through it are the ones, of course, the mindsets, the understanding that there's probably that attachment, working through that, doing some healing work, but also getting on routine and having things going for them, because eventually it will get you out of the spiral. You close that gap more when you get up and you have things to do and you have a focus on something and you're regulating yourself every single day. You're going to have less time to think about that person. You're going to have less time to think about what they're doing or checking their stuff because you're busy, you're doing your own thing, you have some goals, you're accomplishing them, and you're focused on them. If you have all day to spiral about your ex, you're gonna do it. And the more times you put those reps in of taking care of yourself, waking up and going to work and trying to get your mind off of things by seeing some friends or, having some goals for yourself, listening to people who are gonna uplift you when it comes to your mindset, belief work, sleeping with guided meditations instead of thinking about that person all night, regulating your nervous system, that will eventually bring you further away from that spiral. And also the cognitive dissonance that's happening, okay? Because at the end of the day, you are gonna see when you move out of this, for the most part, some sort of lesson, the reason why you guys broke up, the clear indicators that this person was not for you. But right now you're not seeing that, and you need to get further away from the impact so that you can see a bird's eye view and be like, that was a lesson. That's the wisdom. That makes sense. But you can't really see that when you're so in it. One last Jillian thread I want to read because I think that it really closes out this episode beautifully. And it says, some people meet the right person young. Others meet them after years of heartbreak, healing, and discovering who they are. Both paths are human. You are not behind. Respect your path. The truth is, some of us have a harder time in relationships and need more time to grow, learn, and make better choices. But there's no point in focusing on that. You can't undo the past or redo the choices you made. You can only begin from this exact moment. Wiser. The wisdom you've gained was not free. It was earned. Every heartbreak was a teacher. Every moment of self-discovery was a step closer to understanding who you truly are and what you truly need. Some people meet the love of their life at 22, get married, spend their lives building together. But for many, it doesn't happen that way. We go through heartbreaks, situationships, maybe a marriage that doesn't work out. We fail, dust ourselves off, and have to figure out who we are all over again. And you know what? That's normal. That's life. Some people need the heartbreak to wake them up, to teach them how not to abandon themselves, to show them what they actually want in a partner, not the fantasy that they had when they were 25, but the reality of what will actually make them happy at 40, 50, and beyond. Own your story. Wherever you are, that's where you start. You're not late. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're a human being who's lived some life, and that's something to respect, not something to regret. And amen to that. This is all teaching you what you need specifically in your life to feel good. And life is not without its road bumps. And I think that it's all about being somebody who learns to be resilient through these road bumps. They are going to happen. Let's gear ourselves up and do our best to deal with the problem instead of break. We don't need to. You do not need to be in a identity anymore of being somebody who's heartbroken or who's been left or been walked away from or is not worthy of love. You don't need to take on that identity anymore if you don't want to. You can let that go. And I genuinely think that you should let that go sooner rather than later, because there is somebody on the other side, but that person is not going to be able to find you when you are in the identity of somebody who is heartbroken, who is not enough, who is not worthy, who doesn't take care of themselves and stays in bed and doesn't go out and live life. How is that person going to find you? How is that healthy person going to find you when you are the version of yourself that is stuck in the past? It's not going to happen. You need to become the change first, and then you will see it reflected. So that's all I'm going to say for today's episode. Please let me know what you enjoyed in the comments, whether on YouTube or even Spotify. It allows you to make a little comment. If you want to review the podcast, that would be great as well. It always helps get the podcast out to more people. Don't forget to follow me on my personal Instagram, which is Alicia Gogan, if you want to keep up to date with my life, and also the podcast Instagram, because we are now putting some clips on there. So if you need some reminders and some quotes and motivation to stay on this journey, then definitely give it a follow. Also, make sure to sign up to my email list, which will be in the description box, because you'll be getting some updates very soon on my new journal series and all of my offerings that I have and any free resources. I really do want to come out with a monthly newsletter to kind of give you guys some new energy. So if you have any ideas of what you guys want to see each month when it comes to an email from me, definitely feel free to let me know. And with that said, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.